My name is Sarah Preston, and I am an instructional designer in the Department of Technology Enhanced Learning here in MTU. And today's session is on Zoom Essentials. So I'm just going to go over what we'll cover today. I'm going to show you how to access Zoom. So you might already know how to access Zoom to come to the section, but you might be watching live on YouTube or watching the YouTube recording. So I will show you how to access Zoom. I'll show you how to schedule a Zoom class with the Canvas integration. I'll show you how to set up your audio and video for Zoom. I'll show you how to allow participants entry into Zoom meetings, show you how to share your screen, and how to manage recordings with Zoom as well. And then I'm just going to do a tour of some useful features. And we've also released two new features, brand new for the semester, that I'll cover as well at the end. So you might be interested in those. If you have any questions during the session, you can use the Q&A tab in Zoom, or if you're watching the recording, you can just email us at edtech@mtu.ie and we can get back to any questions that way as well. And if I see these questions come up in the Q&A, I'll probably get to them at the end. So we'll make a start. So what I'm going to do is it's going to be a mix of pre-recorded stuff and some live demo. And that's because it's kind of hard to show people how to use Zoom over Zoom because we're doing this training over Zoom. So some of it's going to be pre-recorded stuff and some of it I'll show you live. So first, it's how to log into Zoom. So this is just an image of the Zoom desktop client. So you might notice, even if you've used Zoom before, that the Zoom client has changed branding a little bit. It's called Zoom Workplace now, but it works just the same. So nothing really has changed there except the look and feel of it. So I'm just going to play this video to show you how to log into Zoom. So if you click sign in on the Zoom desktop client, you'll see there's this login part here, and actually you don't log in using that. We log into Zoom using single sign-on. So if you are confused by that, basically it's just so it connects to our MTU profiles that we use for Canvas and Outlook and things like that. So when you're logging into Zoom, you actually click this little key icon that says SSO, which stands for single sign-on. So instead of logging up there, and you'll see it really flashed there, but I'll just go back to show you. When you click the SSO button, it might prompt you for a company domain, and it'll only do this once. That's why it kind of whizzed through for me. So you put in TELCIT for that. And once you've done that once, it'll remember and it'll automatically do it for you. But if you're ever prompted when you're logging into Zoom for the company domain, that's the domain we use, TELCIT. And then you just click continue, and then it'll bring you through. And it'll load up on your browser. You can just see it's loading up on my browser there. And you'll see I've just blurred out my own account information, but you're just logging in like you would to Outlook or to Canvas with the authenticator on your phone. I think that's how most people do it. So you just click into your account, have your password in, click sign in. And then it'll load up and you have to approve it. I use the authenticator app on my phone, so I'm just doing that in this recording. And once you've authenticated on your phone, then you just click open Zoom meetings and then you're logged into Zoom. So that's how you log into Zoom on the desktop app. I'll move on to the next slide. So this is the live demo. So now I'm going to show you how to schedule a Zoom class from Canvas. Canvas is what lecturers use, and you can use the Zoom integration in Canvas to set up classes without having to go to the Zoom website. I'm just going to exit the presentation and switch to my browser. You'll see here I have a Canvas module open. This is just a training module that we use for these kind of sessions, not a real module. But all Canvas modules that lecturers are on have the Zoom integration on them. So you'll see here on the left navigation menu, there's a Zoom button here. So all I have to do is click that. And this is where I can, as a lecturer, I can schedule Zoom classes, and then it's also where students can go to join those Zoom classes. You don't have to send them a link, all set up here, and both you, the lecturer, and the students can join from this tab as well. So it's really handy. Also, you'll see, so there's three tabs here: upcoming meetings, previous meetings, and cloud recordings. So if you set your if you set the class that you're doing to record the session, then the recordings will appear here. So again, when the recording is ready, you don't have to remember to send a link to your students. They'll all just appear here in the cloud recording section, and then the students can just go click Zoom on the module and then click cloud recordings, and they can find the recordings there. You don't have to link it to them. But first, I'm just going to show you how to schedule a Zoom class or a Zoom meeting from Canvas from your module. So you'd be doing it specifically for that module. So you just click schedule a new meeting, and you can change the topic, or if it's just, your regular class on that module, this is the name of this module, you can just leave the name as it is. And you can put in a meeting description if you want, and then you just put when the meeting is. So I'm just going to say that I'm teaching a class on Thursdays at 9 a.m. and it's 1 hour in duration. And say most lecturers will probably be doing this regularly, so they'd have the same meeting every week. So instead of having to make a new Zoom invite for everyone, you can set it as a recurring meeting. So say if you have the same class every Thursday at 9 a.m. for 1 hour, you just click recurring meeting, and then you can change the recurrence. So for me, that would be weekly. So if it was every Thursday, I just click weekly, repeat every 1 week. And if it was every 2 weeks, you would just change that to every 2 weeks. And then I'm just going to change it to Thursday because that's what I picked. And then you can also change, say how long it's going to go. So either it could be up until a certain date. This is set to be every Thursday up until the end of October, but you'd probably be doing it sometime in May or whenever classes end. Or if you have 12 weeks of classes or whatever you have, you can have it set to after a number of occurrences. So I can just go here and click 12, and then I know this Zoom meeting will be available for 12 times every Thursday at 9 a.m. and it's an hour. So then your students can join and you can join at that time. One thing to note here as well is the settings in security, just this setting here, depending on who you want to allow into the meeting. So generally, if you're teaching a class, only MTU Cork students or staff is fine. It's a fine setting to have. All the students in your module will be MTU Cork students, so they'll be able to join it. And you could also, if you have, another staff member in MTU joining, you can share a link with them, even if they're not on the module. But if you have a guest lecturer joining, or as a guest speaker, that isn't MTU staff at all and doesn't have an MTU account, you could choose all authenticated users, includes external speakers instead. And what this means is, because of security concerns with in MTU, we do still require that anybody that joins an MTU meeting has a Zoom account for traceability. So basically, they need to have any kind of Zoom account. It could be their own works account. It could be their own, basic Zoom account, a free account, any account. They just have to log into a Zoom account. And then that's what all authenticated users means. So they can't just come in as a guest without a Zoom account. But most people have Zoom accounts, and if not, they can easily set one up. And what you can do then is once you've set up the meeting, you can link that you can link the meeting to them, because of course they won't have access to Canvas to be able to get to it. You need to send them a link, and you can do that after you've set up the meeting. One more thing I'll point out on this is the record setting. So this is completely optional, whether you want to set it that the meetings record automatically or not. So if you tick this box, record the meeting automatically in the cloud, that means that every time you start that meeting, and in this case, it's going to be 12 meetings that we set up, it'll automatically start recording. It's up to you if you want to do that. One thing to note though is if there's usually a lot of chatter maybe at the start of your meeting, then that will also be recorded and be in the recording, and you can edit that out after the fact. You can trim the recording, But if you don't want to have to do that, if you'd rather just record when you're ready in the session, then I recommend not clicking this option and instead just remembering to click record when you're actually in the Zoom session and you're ready to start your lecture or whatever you're doing. So then when you're happy with setting up your Zoom class, you just click save. And you can straight away start the meeting if you want, but just to see it on the Zoom tab, I'm going to click Zoom again. And you see these are all the meetings that I set up. So those are the 12 meetings. So they're every Thursday at 9 a.m. And I'll show you from the student's perspective. We'll first see, as I'm a lecturer, I could start that meeting. I could start it now if I want to, but it is set for Thursday at 9 a.m. And I can't start the further ones because they all have the same meeting ID and you can only start the next one that's happening, if you get me. But I'll show you what it looks like for students. So if I click student view, so this is a button in Canvas that can show you your modules as it looks like for students. So it's really handy when you're testing things out. So if I click view as student and then click the Zoom tab, you'll see also as a student, all of those meetings are there. So students know when the class is going to be, and they can also click join to join the meeting as well. So that's really handy. That's how you set up Zoom classes from Canvas. And what I'm going to do as well is show you if you make a mistake or if there's a change with your classes and you need to delete them, you can just click on the topic here and click delete this meeting, and you can delete just one meeting if you want. Maybe the class is cancelled that week, or if you want to delete them all, you can just delete all of the occurrences. So I'll do that there. Now we're fresh slate and they're all gone. So now I'm just going to go back into the slides. Current slide, there we go. So once you have actually started a Zoom class, I'm just going to show you how you can set up your audio and video. So you'll see at the bottom left of your Zoom window, there's an audio icon, this little microphone icon. So you can turn that on and off to turn off on your microphone. I'll just show you in this video. You can also choose what your microphone is and what your speaker is. So you might have, let's just gone back, there we go. You might have a multiple microphones. You could have the internal microphone on your laptop. Generally, there is one, or you could have a headset, or you could have a webcam that has a microphone on it. So you might want to choose between which one works better for your sound. Also with speaker as well, you could have the internal speaker on your laptop or computer, or you could have a connected speaker as well. So you need to choose between those. And if you're not sure, if you're having difficulty with knowing which is the right microphone and which is the right speaker, there's this option here, which is test speaker and microphone. So if I'll just show you, you click into that. And now you won't be able to hear it here because this is pre-recorded, but it'll play a sound out of the selected speaker that you have. If you can't hear it, that means you probably picked the wrong speaker. So you can just click no if you can't hear it. See, it says, do you hear a ringtone? So you just click no, try another speaker until you get to one that you can actually hear the sound from. And then similarly, oh, let me go back, I've lost that. Similarly, for when you're doing your microphone, it'll ask you to speak in parts. So you speak into your microphone, and then it'll play back to you. And if it sounds correct, then you've got the right microphone. If it doesn't, you can try another microphone. So for me, I'm using this headset. So I would make sure I'm not doing the internal microphone on my laptop. It would be the microphone of the headset that I'm using. So that's how you sort that. And once you're happy with it, you can just click yes. And then everything's set up and you know that your students or whoever's in your meeting is going to be able to hear you properly. And then you can do a similar thing if you're doing video setup. So you'll see there's a video button beside the audio button in Zoom. So I'll just show you. You can just click and turn your video on, pre-recording as well. You'll see I have two cameras. So my laptop itself has an integrated webcam, but I also have a external webcam that's called a Logitech Brio, so I can choose between them if I want. So you can just see me cycle through the two of them. And the Brio has a better quality than the integrated one does. I can also blur my background if I want to. You can see, I think I had colleagues behind me when I pre-recorded this, so I have the background blurred on my video. You can turn that off if you want to or on, so you can just blur your background. You can also click choose virtual background. So when I click that, you'll see I think that every MTU staff member has access to these 4 extra backgrounds if they want to use them. So they're different MTU branded backgrounds. So you can click through those and use any of those if you want to as your background as well. And then just for general video settings, you can click this up button and click video settings. And you'll see, oh, I've lost it again, just the recording. Here we go, video settings. And there's a few settings that you can do here as well. So you see, you could choose your camera from there as well. You can make it HD, and that just makes a better picture camera. I've lost it again, sorry, just these recordings. Here we go. There we go, HD. And it also makes it a bit widescreen. You can also mirror your video. So if you want it to be mirrored the other way, you can touch up your appearance. Basically, what that means is it's like a filter, just move out your face if you want that. You can adjust for low light, that just makes the picture a little bit brighter. And kind of the same for portrait lighting as well. So those are some of the things you can do to edit your video when you're displaying to people. Then for admitting people, so if you're setting up a meeting, either in Canvas or outside of Canvas, automatically people don't just join your meeting, you have to admit them. So if a student is joining your class, they'll be put in a waiting room first. So this is so that you are able to choose when they join, when you're ready for them to join. So if people come early, they're not automatically admitted. So what happens is you'll get a notification on the participants tab of Zoom that somebody is in the waiting room. So you can see here my colleague Jane Lee is in the waiting room. And when I'm ready to have her join the class or join the session, I just hover over her name and click admit. And if it was a big long list of students or a long list of people, there'd be a button admit all as well. And then they join the session. So that's really handy. And I would recommend that people keep an eye on that tab. So you might have people that join late. And if you don't admit them, they won't be able to join the session. So you just need to keep an eye on it so that you're admitting people as they come, basically. This next thing is how to share screen. So you'll see at the bottom of the Zoom window, there is a button called share, and it has this big green button on it. And this is how you share a screen. I'm currently sharing my screen now. So I will just click play here to show you that. So if you click share, you have a couple of options for sharing your screen. So you can share. I have 2 screens. So I have my own laptop, and then I have an external screen that I can use. So it's my choice which one I want to use. So at the moment I'm sharing screen 2 to show you all of this. So you can just choose whatever screen you're planning to share. You can also share just specific applications as well. So to do that, you can see here I have the PowerPoint open or I have Google Chrome, so it's my choice which one I want to share. So if I only wanted to share my browser, I could do that. There's also a couple of options where the way the layout is. So if I click here, I can change the layout so that I'm in front of it, or I can have a little wallpaper behind me. So it's your choice to show how you want to display things. You can see this is what it would look like if I was doing it that way. So you can try through those. One important thing to note here actually is if you're sharing your screen and if you plan to play a YouTube video, then you want to select share sound. So if you're playing a YouTube video or anything on your computer that you want your students or whoever's in the meeting to be able to hear as well, you need to make sure you click share sound, and then they'll be able to hear whatever sound is coming out of your computer. So say it's a YouTube video or a song, any kind of sound they'll be able to hear it through whatever's coming out of your computer, basically. So I recommend you click that. And if students can't hear it, that's probably why. Let me just go back to show the end of that video. So then when you're ready to share, you have everything set up, you just click share, and you'll see there's a little top of the screen, there's a little preview of what you're sharing, so you can make sure you're sharing the right thing. And if this little green thing is closed, you just click on it and it'll show you the preview of what you're sharing. And you'll, if it's like the thing that you want to share, then everything is set up properly. And that's how you share. So the next thing is recording. So like I mentioned earlier, if you're setting up classes in Canvas and you set them to auto record, it will auto record. If you decide not to do that, or if you have a meeting outside of Canvas in Zoom, you might want to record manually from the meeting itself. So you'll see there's a record button in Zoom. You just click record and then click record to the cloud. We don't have local recording in MTU. We just access recordings through our own accounts, and I'll show you how to get to that later. So either people are getting the recording through that Canvas tab, or you getting it through your own Zoom account. And I'll show you how to get to that later. You can pause and resume recording whenever you want. So say you might have a break in the middle of a class. You might want to pause the recording and then just remember to turn it back on again when you come back from a break. So basically that's how that works for recording. And when you end the class, then the recording will end as well, and then it'll go on Canvas, usually depending on how. So if you have a 1 hour long class, it might take a little bit of time to appear for people. It won't be automatic, it has to process. So depending on how long. So if you only had a 2-minute recording, it would probably be immediate. But if you're recording a whole lecture, it might take half an hour for it to appear on the cloud recording tab in Canvas, or even appear on your account. But you can see here when I've clicked stop recording, let me go back, play. So I'm just clicking stop recording. You can see the recording up here as well, so you know when you are recording. And when you stop recording, it'll just say you'll get an email when it's ready. So you'll get an email when the recording has been processed and it's all ready to go. So I'll move on. This is some of the just cool features that you can use in Zoom that I'll show you. So using slides as a virtual background. So for this, press play, you click share. And then there's an advanced tab. Let me go back and show you that. So if you click the advanced tab, in the share settings, you can click PowerPoint as background. And what this does is it loads an actual PowerPoint into Zoom. So it's really good quality compared to sharing your screen, which might be slightly less lower quality. So when you click PowerPoint as background and click share, it'll ask you to find the actual PowerPoint file. So I'm just getting one from my desktop. And then you just load in that PowerPoint. And then you'll see a really good quality version of the PowerPoint will load into Zoom, and then you'll be in front of it as well. Your head will be in front of it, and then you can go through the slides as you would. Another thing to show you is annotation. So this might be something you want to do with students to annotate something on screen, to draw attention to something. You might either want to do it where it's just you that can do it. You might want to allow everyone in the meeting to be able to do it, so your students as well. So there's options there. So again, this is where you share your screen. So I'm just going to share screen 2 for this example. I click share, and then you'll see at the top of the screen on the sharing panel, I can click annotate. So if I click annotate there, this sort of list of options here comes up. So I can go through those in a moment. But I'll first show you how you enable it for other people or disable it. So if I just go up there and click more, there's an option. Let me just go back. I can either disable or enable it for others. So if it's just me, the lecturer, that wants to do the annotation, I'm not allowed the people in the meeting, I would disable it for others. If I want to allow everybody in the meeting to be able to annotate, I enable it for others. So that's just how you do it there, and it's just showing you the 2 ways. So then the options here. So there's lots of different options on how you can annotate. So I have the E one here, that just means typing. So I can just type annotate on my screen. See here, I write, this is an annotation. And then if I want to change the color option is here. So I can just change it to any of the colors that are listed there. There's also a moving tool. So it's this second one here, a moving tool. So I can move that annotation around. There's a draw button as well. It's this little pencil icon. So I can just draw on the screen. And if I want to change color, I think I can do it that way and then do another drawing. And also you can draw shapes. So there was just free draw I was just doing, but you can also draw different shapes. So there's squares, circles, and lines. So there's just me doing a rectangle. There's stamps as well. So there's like arrows, ticks, stars. So I think this show me doing some stars. And then spotlight, this button here is a spotlight, and that doesn't actually draw anything. It's maybe if you're talking about the annotations with your students and you want to draw attention to any area, this is just a little spotlight. So you'll tell people to follow the spotlight basically. And then they'll look at whatever you're showing them. There's also an eraser, so you can easily erase any elements. And there's redo and undo and redo buttons here as well. I'll just go back a little bit here. There's a bin icon here, a trash icon, and you can either clear all of your own drawings or clear all drawings of everybody's, or clear just viewers' drawings, so just to other people, not your own drawings. So that's your choice which button if you need to clear them. And also you can click this little download button here, and you can either download it's the shared screen image with the annotations on it as a PNG, which is a type of image file, or as a PDF. So that's quite handy as well. And then that'll download onto your machine and you can open it and have it for later. So I'll move on now. So this is the point where I'm going to introduce two new features. Well, actually, it's a lot of new features, but they have two main headings, which is meeting summaries and smart recording. And these are both completely optional. You can turn them off if you don't want to use them. They're both powered by Zoom AI. So the first one is meeting summary. So these are summaries that you can get sent to you after a meeting has ended. So basically, if you have this turned on during a meeting, Zoom will listen to the meeting and then generate a summary of that meeting. And this meeting does not have to be a meeting that you set to record. It can do it even if you don't record the meeting. And it's particularly useful maybe if you are having like a project meeting with colleagues or something like that. And you want to, it'll take notes for you basically, and then you can look at them later or share them with your colleagues later. Then the other feature that we have recently turned on is smart recording. So there are a few elements to smart recording. Again, it's powered by Zoom AI. So recording highlights, this is where Zoom AI kind of picks out highlights in the recordings if you've recorded a session. And you can edit those highlights as well and then save them as a separate file if you want to. Smart chapters is where in the recording, Zoom will generate chapters in it. So you can go to certain chapters, skip to certain sections in it. So it's good for, if students are watching a lecture, they can see different sections of that lecture and what topics they are. And everything is editable as well. So if Zoom gets anything wrong, you can kind of change it if you want to. Next steps is basically Zoom will listen or, Zoom AI will listen to the recording and then pick up if you've said any next steps within the meeting or the session. So say you say at the end of your lecture, please read chapter 5 of this book, then that will probably appear in next steps. And then students can see that's what they have to do, basically. So that's all automatically done through Zoom AI. And then finally, meeting coach, and this is something that just you, the host, can see on the recording. And it's basically kind of giving you scores on how well your presentation was, like based on how long you talked for without a pause, or how much you let other people speak, or things like that. You can just use that if you want to tips on how to improve your presentation skills, really. So I think what I will do now is show you how to turn those things on or off. So it depends on whether you want to use them or not. So again, I'm just going to exit the presentation and go back here. And as I mentioned before, so you can access Zoom through that the Canvas Zoom tab, but you also have your own Zoom account on the Zoom website. And to get to that is tlcit.zoom.us. And then when you log in through there, similarly to showed you earlier, you can go to your settings and you can look at your recording through there as well. So I'm just on the settings tab of my own account, and you'll see I think it's the first tab there, but this is where you can either turn on or off these features. So the first one, as I mentioned, is meeting summary with AI Companion. So if you turn that on, that means that you can have it with the summaries. There's a few options here, and I recommend you do it a certain way when you're testing it out, and then you can try the other options. So I have it set on my own one that I don't want it to turn on meeting summary automatically when meetings start, because that would mean every meeting that I have with anybody would be automatically, summarized, and I don't want that. I want to control it myself, so I have that turned off. I also have turned on that I get an email notification when the summary is ready, it's sent to me. So you can choose whether you get the summary text in that email or whether it's just a link. So if you say don't include summary text in the email, it'll link you to the summary on this tab instead. There isn't really a huge difference there. I also have it set up that the summary at the moment, but I might try other ways, is set sent to just me at the moment. So when you're testing this, I recommend trying it that way too, because you can always send it after. So when I have a meeting and I have the summary, share summary turned on, after the meeting, it's only me that gets that summary email too. But if I wanted to, I could change that to co-hosts or people that I've invited as well. And I think when it comes to invitees, that's people you're specifically inviting. So I don't think it works. It wouldn't send to all students if you had done it from the Zoom tab, but you can copy the summary text and send that to students, or you can use the recording features that I'll show you later. And then I'll scroll down and show you how to turn on or off. So if you don't want to use any of this, you want to turn it off, you just click to toggle it off. But I have it turned on, so the smart recording. There are options here, so each of the different elements as well, you can turn off or on as well. And I recommend trying them out and seeing if you don't like any of them, like if you see that the next steps is always wrong or you don't want them to see that element, you can just turn that off yourself. So now I'm going to show you what these things look like in action. So the first one I'll show you is the meeting summary. So that was the one I turned on here. So I have one from a test that I did last week. So if I click meeting summary tab here, and it's just logging me back in again. There we go. So I think it's this one I have. So I did a practice presentation of this session last week and I turned on meeting summary for it. So I could test it out. So if I just click into that, you can see this is the meeting summary. So I've not done any edits to this at all. This is all from Zoom AI detecting what I said. You can see it's got a quick recap, next steps, and a summary. So it's the session that I'm literally doing now is what they're covering basically. You might notice it says here, Sarah Paxton conducted a Zoom Essential session. So my name is Sarah Paxton, not Sarah Paxton, but it misheard me. So if I wanted to, all I have to do is click edit and then just correct that. You can review these and edit anything that's wrong in them basically. But generally it's quite accurate, I would say, a lot of the stuff. And it might be easier than you having to do it yourself. And then it's just saved. And then if I want to, I can share that with specific other email addresses. So I just type in their name. It's usually other people that are in MTU I can share with. Or I could just copy all of that text and post it into Canvas if I wanted to. So it's really handy there. So I recommend trying it out and seeing if you like it. And if you just send it to yourself, nobody else is going to get it anyway. And I'll show you when we go back into the presentation, I'll show you how you can turn it on in a meeting. But first, I'm just going to go back into the recordings and show you that feature as well with that turned on. So that's just this recordings and transcripts tab. And again, I'm going to go to the practice presentation that I did last week. I had all those features turned on for that. And you'll see there's actually two recordings here because I have the highlights turned on. And I'll explain what they are in a minute. I'll just go into the main recording from my practice presentation. It's just going to load up. And I'll just pause it there so you can see all of the elements are turned on for this, so it can show you them all. So the first one is highlights. So the highlights are these yellow bars here. So you see there's 3 here. And what Zoom does is it automatically makes them, it detects what it thinks are highlights and can sometimes be wrong, but it's very easy for you to edit them. So I've actually edited those highlights. Just you can delete any of them. So if you just click edit highlights and then you click in on any of the highlights, you can change the length of them. You can add more highlights just by doing that. And it's quite precise, you know, when you're dragging it, you can see the actual seconds it's going to be. If you want to remove any highlights, you just click on the highlight and click remove. And then when you're happy with it, you just click done. And then those are the highlights. And then you can just click save highlights and it'll make a different video file that people can view. So I'll show you again. This is what I did last week. So I made those highlights and it's just 6 minutes of content. And then people can view just the highlights if I want in a separate file. I'll just go back into the main one here. So then down here, we've got a summary that was generated with Zoom AI. So again, it's got my name wrong, but I can easily just edit that and click save. We summarize the session. You'll also see down here the smart chapters that I mentioned. So this is Zoom has detected what the different sections of the video are. And so you can see here it's got Zoom settings and features, Zoom audio, video, virtual background setup. These are all things that I covered in this session, so it seems pretty accurate. Zoom screen sharing and recording tutorials. So and then people can click and skip to these sections. So that's handy. And if anything is incorrect, either in the descriptions of the sections or if maybe then should be longer, if you need to edit any of it, basically you can just click edit smart chapters and you can change the text or you can change the length of them as well. Or you can even delete smart chapters as well. So that's handy. Then you'll notice here on the right, we have the next step section. So this is from Zoom AI listening to what I was saying in the session. And knowing and detecting what they think is a next step. And so you see here it says Sarah to share the meeting recording with the attendees so we can review the session. So it's a hint to what I'm going to say at the end of this session. Attendees to explore new Zoom features, attendees to practice using Zoom. So that's just, I didn't write any of that. Zoom AI has detected that. And if I want, I could add anything else in there if I wanted to, if they missed something or if I missed something during the session and I want to add it into the next step, I can just click the pencil icon and add anything I want in there myself too. And then finally, we have the meeting coach. So that's this tab here, and this is only visible to you as the host to see. Your students won't be able to see your score in this. But you can see my score here for this practice session I did. So you can see the talk listen ratio is 100%. That means that nobody else in the session talked. That makes sense because it was a practice session and there was no one there. So my 100% score is fine, but I got a bad score there because they say recommended 25 to 85. Then we've got longest spiels. That's the longest time I talked without, a long pause. And we've got filler words. So I've got a good score there. Talk speed, maybe talk a little bit too fast. And patience as well. So that's just helpful to see if you want to, improve the way you're presenting maybe. And I think that's all of those features. So I'm just going to go back into the presentation one last time. Okay, so just to show you, if you set up meeting summaries like I have, where it's not automatically for each session and you have to manually do it, this is what will come up in your meeting. It's this AI companion button. It's not called Meeting Summaries, it's called AI Companion. So when you have that set up, you just click AI Companion during your meeting and click Start Summary, and then it'll start listening to your whatever Zoom session you're in and then send you the summary at the end of it. And as I said, it doesn't have to be a recorded one, it could be any Zoom meeting. So, you know, if you're having a meeting with someone and you don't want to take notes, or if you want backup notes, it's quite handy in that way. So I think that's it for today. Just going to go over some of the supports that we have. So we have our department website, which is tel.cit.ie. And our help guides are at tlhelp.eu.help.com, which I know is a little bit of a hard to remember. So I can show you how to get to that easier just through the department website. We also have a YouTube channel, which we're streaming live on now. You can watch the recordings back here as well, which is Technology Enhanced Learning MTU. But if I just show you the website before I go, so it's tel.cit.ie. I'm going to click on the link. Take a second, it's just loading up our website, and it's been redesigned fairly recently. You can see at the top here, there's a staff resources tab. So if you click that there, then we've got a link to all of our help documentation, link to our YouTube channel, and also there's a link to email our help desk as well. So that's really handy. I click the help docs one here. This is our help site with hundreds of help docs on different things to do with Canvas and Zoom and other different features. You'll see here, we've got Zoom help docs here. So if anything I didn't cover today, you can probably find a help document on it here. You can also search it as well. So if I just type Zoom and click, then everything that has the word Zoom in it will come up there as well. That's really handy. I'll just go back into the presentation one more time. Here we go. So yeah, that's the end of today's session. So if anybody has any questions, you can please add it to the Q&A tab in Zoom, and I'll wait on for a minute to see if you have any questions. Okay, I think I'll leave it there. But if anybody does think of questions after this session, just email us at edtech@mtu.ie. We'll be able to get back to you. Thanks so much for coming. Bye-bye.